How's it going, friends? Today's video, we're going to talk about relative strength versus absolute strength. It's a topic I've seen come up multiple times in different YouTube videos and forums and etc. So I think it needs to be discussed. So let's do that. So obviously, relative strength is how strong you are relative to your body weight, or sometimes called pound for pound strength. Absolute strength is getting as strong and big as you possibly can, regardless of your body weight. So why differentiate? Well, I see a lot of guys that are, usually guys, sometimes girls, but a lot of times smaller guys will point out their pound for pound strength as being more impressive than someone who's bigger, does more absolute weight, but their body weight ratio to what they're lifting is not as impressive. Now, this is foolish for a number of reasons, but the first reason is it doesn't scale accordingly as you go up. The bigger you get, your body weight ratio is going to get worse. It's just a matter of reality and science. You can't expect guys that weigh 400 pounds to be benching 2.5 times their body weight. That would be hundreds of pounds over the world record. The world record right now, 2021 by Julius Maddox, I believe is 782 or 783 pounds for a raw bench. And that's him weighing, 450, 460. So for him to bench 3 times his body weight, we're talking over 1,300 pounds, close to 1,400 pounds. That's ridiculous. That's 600 plus pounds over the current world record. Does anyone honestly expect that's going to happen? But you see a lot of guys that weigh 180 to 220 benching 2 to 2.5 times the body weight. It's not that uncommon. So we need to get realistic here. And there's another reason. A lot of times, these smaller guys that are lifting these, big, impressive pound for pound weights, they're doing it for a couple of reasons. They're built for that lift, i.e. they have really long arms. Say for a deadlift, a guy like Lamar Grant is a perfect example. I'm not taking anything away from his lift. It's an impressive lift for that weight, of course, but look how long his arms are. They're almost, they're touching his knees. So obviously he's going to be built to deadlift. Same thing if you had a guy that was short and small but had really short arms and a wide grip on a bench. He might only be pressing the weight 4 inches versus a guy like Brian Shaw who weighs 450, might bench press 500 times 5 like I believe he did at Zoo Culture. And this is a guy that doesn't even practice the bench. And he has super long arms. He probably has a 7-foot wingspan. It's, being around 6'8" tall. So what's more impressive? 150 pound guy benching twice his body weight and benching 300, or a guy that's 450 benching 500 by 5. If you went by the body weight calculator, you'd say the smaller guy, but who's the overall, much stronger guy? Obviously the guy that won World's Strongest Man 4 times is literally probably one of the strongest men on earth, the top 5. He could literally crush a human skull like the Mountain in Game of Thrones. But we're going to be more impressed by the smaller guy because we're told pound for pound strength is all that matters. No, that's not, no, sorry, no. Not buying that. So you need to be realistic with yourself. At the end of the day, overall strength or absolute strength is important and you need to follow it. Which is going to bring me into the next point. If you're a natural lifter and you're not taking drugs, if you want to get bigger and stronger, you're going to have to gain weight. It's obvious. You can't expect to start your weightlifting journey at, let's say, 170 pounds. Do you honestly think 10 years later, your lifts are all going to go up, and you're still going to be 170 pounds? No. Sorry, it doesn't work that way. You're going to be 190, 200, 210, 220 maybe. You're going to gain 30, 40, 50 pounds over that, course of time, 10 years, let's say, because a natural lift is going to take at least 10 years, maybe more, maybe 20 years, maybe a lifetime to reach their genetic potential as a natural lifter. And you're going to get much bigger and stronger during that time. So who really cares about pound for pound strength? Your lifts might have been more pound for pound impressive at 170 when you started, but now you're way stronger and bigger 10 years later. But because your ratios are less, is it less impressive, even though you're a way bigger and stronger version of yourself? So let's get realistic here, guys and girls. Should you get as big and strong as possible for your frame size? Yes. Should you keep your body fat at a healthy level? Yes. What I recommend for men, I would say for men, maybe 12 to 18% body fat, maybe as high as 20% if you're, in more of a bulking phase, but I would probably cut a little bit and try to keep it more in the 12 to 18. I don't recommend being 30% body fat, but I also don't recommend being shredded and being 8% body fat. Neither are healthy for you. So the last thing we're going to talk about is skeletal size. Now, you need to realize a lot of these guys, in addition to maybe being built for that lift and having a smaller range of motion and maybe different form, they might arch a lot more on your bench than a bigger guy. You also need to factor in skeletal sizes don't vary that much. So a guy that's 140 that's deadlifting, let's say he's deadlifting 2.5 times his body weight, and a guy that's 160 is only deadlifting 1.5 times his body weight. Do you really think their erectors, hamstrings, glutes, etc., lower back, do you honestly think that they're that much different in size? One guy might physically look bigger because he has he might have bigger biceps, he might have wider shoulders. He might have things that make him appear physically bigger, but the muscles being used in the actual exercise likely don't vary that much. We need to be realistic here. Yes, if you're comparing, Brian Shaw to a guy that's 5'3" that weighs 140, yeah, obviously the skeletal sizes are going to be a huge difference. But for the average guy, let's say, 5'8", 5'9", 5'10", somewhere in the 150 to 200 pound range, the skeletal sizes and muscle sizes aren't going to vary that much. There's other differences, how they insert, how wide their clavicles are, their limb lengths. Those are all going to make them appear bigger or smaller depending on how you view them. But at the end of the day, their frame size is not that much different. So we need to just look at overall strength. That's the most important factor. 50 years ago, when young boys were looking at, weightlifting magazines or bodybuilding magazines, they wanted to get as big and strong as possible. No one cared about pound for pound strength. That's a new phenomenon. It's kind of like the trophy era. Everyone deserves a trophy and an award for just being them, not being something exceptional or something, amazing, not being something that no one else has done. Everyone wants a trophy just for doing anything. So let's all strive to be the biggest, strongest versions of ourselves that we can be, and don't care. Who cares about relative strength? We're not ants, we're human beings. Yes, you might not be the world's strongest man one day. You might not have the genetic gifts or the drive or ambition or desire, but you can be the strongest and biggest version of yourself. So with that said, let's end the video. Let's all, try to stay civil with each other, and I'll talk to you next time.